Alright, I switched the language. I will switch the language to the English. This is the Sashiko live streaming in English. Sorry to be a little bit late. I did a little bit overtime in Japanese, so this is the Sashiko live streaming in English. そりゃそうだよな、一緒だわな。Thank you so much for coming in from the Japanese live session. I will try to speak in English, but pretty much everybody watching here is probably Japanese right now, but I'll do my best to keep speaking in English. This is Sashiko Live. さくらこんなんや今ここ無理でしょ座れないよねShe took my chair. She took my job. They took my job. Was it from South Park? It's probably from the South Park. Anyway, I'll talk about... I have a specific topic today. I brought a specific topic today. And this will be quite important. This will be quite important to talk about before I go to the QuiltCon. So, if you could join in the comments to share your opinion, share your insight, that'd be really appreciated. I brought the topic today. I will do that while I stitch. And I have to keep standing up because Sakura is sitting down on my chair, like fully. But the question is, what is definition? So the definition is a term to describe one word, right? So the definition of definition would be that the definition is the term or description to form, to have the same understanding of one word. Definition doesn't mean that it is right or wrong. What is the definition of pen? Pen is something to write with. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm talking about something non-Sashiko at all. So that's the kind of description to be on the same page. The definition is the useful way to understand a matter or issue without explaining from the beginning. The question was actually, what is spelling modern quilting? Oops, I'm sorry for the bad spelling. I would like to learn. This is my goal. This is one of my goals for this QuiltCon 2020. To understand what is the quilting and what is the modern quilting. I read their website. I read somebody's article, and I understand that there's a lot of way to understand what is the modern quilting. And as much as my goal, my job is to make my Sashiko workshop successful, and I'll do everything I can do to make it happen, but at the same time I really would like to learn what the QuiltCon, like MQ, Modern Quilt's member, think about the quilting as well as the modernness of the quilting. As long as, in my understanding, the quilting is a process of sewing a few layers of fabric together with the batting inside to make the kind of thicker fabric. Quilting is not a result, it's more like a process. Probably the quilt itself is the result of quilting. That's probably everybody's understanding, and that's what we call definition. And as long as I know, if it is not stitched, we don't call that quilting. Or the people in the Modern Quilting Guild are okay with something printing or drawing or painting as the quilting. Well, for that matter, like, it doesn't have to be modern. Is the quilt is okay? Are the quilters okay to call something painting as quilt if it looks like quilting? The reason I'm asking this question is that the same thing, well, not the same, the similar thing is happening to Sashiko too. Sashiko is a Japanese word for hand stitching. Like, doesn't have to be only hand. It's the word for the stitching, for the word of stitching. But there are many, many, many misunderstandings that Sashiko is the pattern or Sashiko is the specific design. In my understanding, Sashiko is not a design or pattern, it's the stitching itself. So I just would like to know how, I mean, probably some people use the quilting in different way. I understand Sashiko is something different in different places, but I don't think I'm being overreacting or I'm being too protective of the word by saying Sashiko. By saying what Sashiko is for us. So I will see what is like in the Texas Austin this weekend, and I'm so excited about that, to see what is the quilting. I'm very much the beginner in terms of quilting. I don't know much about quilting, so it is very much exciting. I'm very excited about learning the quilting and what is the modern, in their definition. I'm not there to judge, I'm not there to criticize, I just like to learn how they appreciate those words while I teach Sashiko. It relates to this questions, what is quilting, what is modern quilting, what is Sashiko, leads to the question, what is tradition? Many people might be thinking about Sashiko tradition as the blue and white. It is very much. Sashiko is very much known for the indigo blue and white thread. However, it is not limited to that colors. And if somebody stitch with the pink thread on the bright orange fabric, do I consider that as Sashiko? I do. I do consider that as Sashiko as long as they do stitching with carrying the fabric, caring for the appreciation and hopefully caring for the Japanese culture behind it. The color is not that big of a deal for me to define what Sashiko is. In fact, I'm kind of modern in terms of what to use, what to stitch on. Because I'm stitching on the denim, I'm stitching on the jeans. That's some of my teachers, who taught me how to do Sashiko, wouldn't like that. They might not like it, but that's fine, because that's my understanding of Sashiko, and my understanding of Sashiko will not be defined or judged by what kind of materials I use. So it is like still learning process. I try to advocate what Sashiko is from my perspective, and I hope Sashiko is the word of the Japanese word for stitching. Some people may disagree, but when they disagree, I want to see the stories behind it. Why do they disagree that Sashiko is not a stitching, or Sashiko is just a design? I'm not saying that nobody can use the Sashiko design for their designing work. I just don't want them to use the word Sashiko stitch, the Sashiko pillow, because if it's only design, if it's only printed, because that kind of twists the original culture. If it's called Sashiko, if they learn deeper enough to call their product Sashiko, they probably use different name for their printing. Usually, each pattern has the name for that. It's not the pattern for Sashiko. It's just the pattern for anything. What I'm stitching right now is not a Asanoha pattern. It's not a Sashiko pattern. It's called Asanoha pattern, and it can be done anywhere. It can be printed. People use it for the woodworking. So not only it is kind of incorrect in the Sashiko perspective, but also it creates the confusion of what is the Sashiko pattern, because this is simply called Asanoha pattern and it's not the Sashiko pattern. It's just the most popular pattern I can think of in Sashiko stitching. So, the word is sometimes too difficult. Word can be confusing. That's why I try to not to speak up about those definitions, and I have very small amount of article about. I have a very small article about the cultural appropriation or repainting or definition and such, because I believe that people who stitch will understand what Sashiko is. However, since this is my learning opportunity about quilting, it'll be a very, very, very interesting time for me to share what I know, share what I practice, and get a feedback from the experienced artist, right? Like I think the quilting can be an art. I don't know. Do people in the quilting consider their pieces as an art, or is there somebody like me who feel a little bit uncomfortable calling their quilting as the art? See, I still don't know that neither. I really don't know how people understand what they do, simply because I just didn't have an opportunity to talk about those things. So it is very interesting. It's very fortunate for me to be able to visit. It is next week. It's gonna start on next Wednesday, right? I am not going to fly in on Wednesday. I'm gonna be flying in on Thursday. So, and my workshop doesn't start until Friday, so it's gonna be a little bit 6 more days to go. But this will be a lot of new experience, new information to understand what I can do to pass down the culture of Sashiko. Exciting, very exciting. Okay, like my mission is to pass down the Sashiko as much as I can. So I'm not gonna jeopardize that mission, and I'll do my best. And I'm literally doing my best for that. I cannot think about anything else besides that right now, but it's very much exciting. And scary, of course, it's very scary. It's probably the scariest things I do. Usually when I offer the Sashiko workshop, I know that they're very much interested in Sashiko stitching. Because my workshop is, I rarely have the workshop as a collaboration of something else. I have done that before, but I learned that it's kind of difficult. I mean, it's very challenging to make it more satisfactory. So I try to focus on what I do first, Sashiko stitching, and I try to make it less complicated. So pretty much last year, every workshop was very much focused on Sashiko stitching. Every workshop was for the Sashiko. So I knew I could expect everybody to come to the workshop to love the Sashiko to begin with. In this QuiltCon, I think many people decided to take the workshop if they like Sashiko, they're interested in Sashiko. But at the same time, there's of course possibility that somebody just might be the first time to even look at what Sashiko is. So it is my challenge, and that's my learning opportunity to how can I pass down the Sashiko I practice for those who might not be interested in Sashiko for long run. I mean, it is impossible to expect everybody to love Sashiko. Some people might not like it, some people might not be interested at all. It is going to be a very, very, very good experience. But so scary. So scary. The more I think, it kind of give me a chill. Like, Yeah, I might sound like a very difficult person on the writing. I am. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not that easy person to go with. If somebody try to get into my comfortable zone over the boundary, I will probably. I'm not gonna make it okay by saying like, it's okay, or smile, it's okay. If somebody trespass my comfortable zone, I will probably fight back. But at the same time, I'm not that particular about something specific, which is already explained on the website in the cultural appropriation in Sashiko. I'm very much happy when somebody calls this stitching Sashiko, when they care about the culture behind it. I keep saying that over and over again, but this is my only fundamental. I think that's the only one thing I care. Not a care. Only one thing I kind of distinguish. Doesn't have to be a specific color. It doesn't have to be a specific design. It doesn't have to be. I sometimes even say it doesn't have to be hand stitching. Again, that's gonna be probably another big discussion even in quilting. What is the hand quilting and machine quilting? Blah 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 blah. So I don't want to get into that, but. The only thing I ask is pretty much the care, which means like then you may ask what is the care? The care is like the acknowledgement, willing to learn from that. Like acknowledgement is the thing. Some people say, well, I don't get it's Japanese or not. Ooh, then why do you use the word Sashiko? You gotta use some different word. If somebody say that, well, I don't wish to have any discussion about the personal opinion over the internet. Well, that's not very much like Japanese, because we always feel hesitant to express our own personal opinion on the internet. And when we do it, it's pretty strong. It's pretty significant that it is the truth. So it's not like, well, I don't like your stitching, so please don't do it. Please don't call it Sashiko. It's not like that. I really like to know when somebody call their stitching Sashiko, although they really don't have any relationship with the Sashiko. I would like to know why they call it Sashiko. If there's a good reason, I would probably say, wow, that's good, thank you. If they didn't think about it thoroughly, I will ask them to rethink about it. But usually people don't answer my question. Like, they probably think my question as the accusation. It's not accusation, it's just, I'm just curious. Like, why do they call you stitching Sashiko if you don't care about the culture or the even history or stories or Japanese people behind that word? I haven't had answers yet from those people, though. I've had some like very unfortunate events in the past, but none of them actually answered that question. Many people who already practice Sashiko with the great appreciation, great understanding of Japanese culture always give me a great answer about that. Why do you call it Sashiko? And they always worry that if it's okay to call their stitching Sashiko. It is perfectly fine. I am not gonna be offended by those people calling their stitching old, even if the stitching doesn't look like Sashiko at all. The worrying if their stitching might be disrespectful to this Japanese culture is very much like Japanese culture already. Ha! So I even told them, some of them, that I'm not gonna be offended, and if any other Japanese may be offended by somebody's stitching calling Sashiko with the understanding of Japanese culture, I said to them that I will stand by you. I will support your back if that happens, because that's gonna be like just pretty much a misunderstanding of language. So I just, what I don't like, what I kind of stand against is the ignorance, which I keep saying as well. It's the ignorance of the reality. I hope this will not gonna continue. I really hope it's not gonna continue. I'm kind of tired of this, so. As much as I'm happy that many people get interested in Sashiko stitching, get to know of me from that trend, I'm kind of tired of answering the same questions and getting upset by some thoughtless post. I probably should stop doing the SNS, but that's gonna people expect, they enjoy my post as well, so. Where am I supposed, where do I stitch? Isn't it good? Kind of, it's good, right? Like I have not done yet. It's almost done, but it's 10% or so left. I'm pretty happy I can probably wear this in the QuiltCon. I think it's not that hot in Austin, but it's not that cold in Austin, so it is quite nice. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just zoom in because my other cell phone got shut down because of the battery. So I'm gonna just close up. I'll zoom up and then I'll watch the comments from here. And actually, it's about 11 o'clock, so I'll probably finish the live streaming after one more thread line. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please leave the comments here. Again, I don't mind the repetitive questions. I will just direct you to the answers if I have already. So I'm not discouraging people to ask the question. I asked and I will ask them to be careful. If they can Google first, that'd be great. But at the same time, it's not that I prohibit the questions while I do the live stream. It's absurd. It's just wrong. And again, another thing is that I am very much one person. Many people think that I'm doing as the company. It is a company. It's like LLC, limited liability company. However, I'm just single member that, so everything is done by me, especially if it's in English, it's just me. So if you do not get reply on the comments, please don't think that I'm kind of excluding you. It's just me purely don't have time for that. I usually reply to the email within a few days. If you don't receive that, then please check a spam folder. I use the Japanese software sometimes in my computer, so they may find it as a spam. So, I mean, they use your computer. Your app might find it like a spam. Yeah. Oh, for those who might be really wondering, what if is it okay to leave those thread? I will not cut those thread off because I didn't do any kasane stitching, so I will just keep them as is. So ideally speaking, I shouldn't do this. I should not do that because this thread could catch the nail and that could pull the stitches. So this is not the ideal way to stitch if I am doing for somebody's work. If I'm doing as a commission, I probably shouldn't do this. But the reason I'm doing this is that because I don't have time for QuiltCon much. And I know I can wear this with carefulness, and the thread will be much better by using it. But there will be always a possibility of getting the nail. I can cut the clip. I can clip all of the tails because I do the kasane stitching. But everything else, I may have to leave it, and that could end up with catching the nail. So if that's the question you have, here I already answered that. See, I usually answer questions because the questions are pretty common. Oops. Do I hand wash or machine wash? I can machine wash. I mean, just in case that the machine wash doesn't catch the thread and pull off, I wash it for the first few times by hand gently, and for the first few times in the washing machine by itself, possibly in a net or something, to not to mix with up the other things. But my denim, I have a denim which I stitched like a few years ago. I machine wash pretty much every. I shouldn't wash every week, but I wash it every week because it gets dirty. So, and there's no problem with that. So that's the beauty of Sashiko thread. Sashiko thread becomes a part of fabric over time. The more you use it, the Sashiko fabric becomes a part of fabric. So washing in the unless you're not using the vintage fabric, washing in the washing machine is not gonna be a problem. If the item is made with the vintage fabric, then that's not a problem of the Sashiko stitching. That's the issue of vintage fabric. You don't want to wash it in the washing machine. But if I'm just stitching on this denim, after let's say after a few weeks, I started washing it. I'm not that careful person, and I had never have a problem with that. Would I do kasane every time? Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes. In reality, it's your choice. But to answer your question, ideally, yes. Even if it's for few stitches, ideally, yes. In reality, I try to be lazy. again, this is not for somebody's work. I don't get paid for this. This is my jacket. I'm gonna wear it for myself, so I can do whatever I want, right? So that's 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 my logic there. Another thing about washing the laundry is that laundry machine, like a washing machine, is that be careful what kind of thread you use. I mean, what kind of dye the thread is dyed from. If it's natural dye, most of the natural dyes are okay with the regular detergent. Like even this one, I used this one from Cherry Blossom, dyed I cannot say that word. Cherry blossom tree dyed Sashiko thread. The regular Tide detergent was okay with this thread. It didn't change the color after several washes. It really didn't change the color. But some of the dye may be reacted by the chemical reaction, oxidation, and also the reduction. So no bleach of course, but at the same time you might want to be careful with the what kind of detergent you use. The natural detergent, neutral detergent is always the best choice, but it's kind of difficult to get a neutral detergent in the US. It's really easy to get it in Japan, but so you have to be kind of careful in what to use for the the detergent. But otherwise, again, Sashiko is not for something fancy. It should be able to easy. So I kind of encourage to use the washing machine as well. But again, like if you're gonna use the vintage, we have to kind of follow the practice as the Japanese did the time they used that fabric. So if it's 200 years ago, if the fabric is 200 years old, then I wouldn't use the washing machine because they did not use the washing machine back then. If it's made in 2010, if it's made on the denim which was made in 2020, then it should be okay. But again, this okay is kind of general idea, so please check it, okay? Though, I don't want you to have a sad result of changing the color after washing it. But again, as long as you use the thread from me, as long as you use the thread I recommend, I have never heard of the thread coming off because somebody washed their piece in the laundry or washing machine. I mean, if they wash it with the stones or something to make it damage, probably yes, but I've never, in my 10 years of experience in denim, no, I've never heard of that. Have I? No, seriously, no. In fact, even regular usage, regular friction is not gonna make your stitches disappear. The only things which could be negatively influential to the stitches is the cat. The cat's nail is the worst. I keep saying this because I'm so shocked that my stitches are kind of coming off. The cat sleeping on your lap. She gets surprised by some noise. She used her nail to secure her position. In that case, your denim might catch. Sorry, the cat's nail might catch the denim, and stitches that would destroy some of the stitches. That happened, and that will probably happen again to me. But otherwise, again, key is the thread though. Key is the thread. Many people get surprised that we don't need any knots to make that happen. But I'm not the only one who is experiencing that. And as long as you follow what I share, it will be perfectly fine. よいしょ。果てしねえな。Where is the line I have not stitched? Okay. I will show you how is the jacket looking, which I am going to wear in the QuiltCon next week. I will complete this next Tuesday, right before I go to the QuiltCon. I will do the exactly same thing. 9 o'clock Eastern time, starting the Japanese live streaming, and then shifted to the English live streaming at 10:30 both Eastern time. So this is the jacket, and this looks much better when I actually wear that. So let me put my hands in. So after completing a few more lines, it should be completed. It turns out pretty good. I thought the pattern was too small, but it's pretty comfortable. It's really, there's no weird feeling inside, no knots, no nothing. So it's really much good feeling, no bulkiness, nothing. And the back side will be like this. It's bigger size, but I have to complete this one too. I have to complete this much left. But come to think of, this is more like 10 hours of job, or how many hours did I do it? Probably not that many more hours. So okay, thank you so much for watching the Sashiko live streaming in English. This will be archived in the YouTube, so if you want to watch it again, they will be available there. The same account, sashi.co. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday and have a good weekend. Thank you so much for watching. ありがとうございました。来週火曜日もどうぞよろしくお願いします。良い週末を。バイバイ。